Hello again, I am the Video Geek and this is yet another video review. Today I'll be looking at the Asus A7V motherboard. I will also be using different CPUs, the 650 Duron, the 700 Duron, and the 800 Duron in this motherboard. And remember folks, these videos are completely unedited and these are only my opinions. Let's swing over now and have a look at the motherboard itself. Okay, what you're looking at here, of course, is the Asus A7V motherboard. This is the one without sound. And this motherboard, all the front side bus settings are controlled via these controls. This one here is for the multiplier, and this one here is actually for the front side bus. And if you look over here, this is for the voltage. And of course, if you want to do a voltage mod, you'll be doing the modification to this module here, which protrudes from the motherboard and actually is a piece that which you have to add in and comes out. This motherboard has one AGP, 5 PCIs. There is no ISA slot in this motherboard. You have your hard drive connection here, primary ETA 100, as well as the secondary. And also you can see over here space for other hard drives as well as the floppy drives, of course, and CD-ROM drives. This is a VIA chipset motherboard, and I'm using the FOP 32 heatsink and fan on this motherboard. And we can swing around to the back and have a look. Kind of upside down here. Same connections, mouse, keyboard, USB, printer, COM ports. Going back to the jumper settings on this motherboard, unfortunately, this is really the only way to overclock this motherboard. Unlike the A-bit KT7, where everything is controlled via the CMOS or in the BIOS, you cannot do it with this motherboard. You have to open your case and refer to the manual and change the front side bus and or the multiplier and or the voltage every time you want to try to overclock or underclock the system. This is kind of a little irritating. However, it's fine. You know, if you're okay with the old way things were done, I kind of prefer the way A-bit has set it up. You just do it through the BIOS. It's very, very simple that way. But still, this motherboard is a very good motherboard. The Duron 650 I got at $870, which I got at 920-ish in the A-bit KT7. So the A-bit KT7 kind of beat it on that one, and actually it also beat it on the 700. I believe I got the this one, A7V 700 Duron, to about 970 to 1 gig, and I also got the Duron 800 in this motherboard at around, I think, 1020 megahertz. So overall, this board is an excellent board, and certainly with the voltage mod, if you do that modification on this AT7 motherboard, with more voltage, I'm sure you would get higher overclocks and more successful overclocks. Of course, ensuring that you have a good heatsink and fan and lots of ventilation. I recommend leaving the case open. Let's swing over now and have a look at the BIOS. Okay, what you're looking at here is the BIOS of the Asus A7V motherboard. It's the regular setup of most of the newer Asus motherboards. And the advanced area, of course, is the area where you can change some settings. Now, for instance, here, the operating frequency setting, this can be changed by jumper or via the BIOS setting. I've opted to, this is the front side bus, I've opted to actually control this via jumper settings. This is the only thing that you can do via the BIOS. Unfortunately, you can't change the multipliers and you cannot change the voltage, but you can change the operating frequency setting. You have an option here of your DRAM frequency and so on. Enable all these settings to get the maximum performance. I'm just going to go through these very quickly. Again, it's your regular setup. And looking at this BIOS in looking at the 8-bit KT7 RAID BIOS is quite a difference. There's a lot of settings in the BIOS of the KT7 RAID, the 8-bit KT7 RAID motherboard. However, this board has excellent performance both in every SiSoft benchmark that I've ran. So overall, it's an excellent board. However, if I was spending the money on a motherboard, I would a socket A motherboard, I would certainly go for the 8-bit KT7 RAID motherboard. RAID is not an option on this motherboard, and it is on the KT7 by 8-bit. So again, that's something else you'll be missing out, and you'll only pay probably an extra $30 for an 8-bit KT7. Again, I do like this Asus A7V motherboard. It does have some downfalls, and certainly it is not an 8-bit KT7 motherboard. So I give this motherboard an 8 out of 10. It is good at what it does. I do not like having to open the case and having to mess around with the multiplier and the voltage, but that's fine. In most cases, probably people are leaving their cases open, so it's not really an issue, I guess, except for you have to refer back to the manual. I would prefer, as you know, the 8-bit KT7 RAID motherboard. And something else the Asus A7V motherboard does not have, of course, is the RAID function. If you're not interested in the RAID, then save an extra 20 or 30 bucks and get this board, the Asus A7V. This board runs around 210-ish Canadian dollars, which is a fairly expensive motherboard. And the 8-bit KT7 RAID motherboard will probably run you like 230 to 240 Canadian. But again, if you're spending 200-ish, go ahead and pay an extra 30 or 40 bucks and get the KT7 RAID motherboard. That would be my recommendation. So again, an 8 out of 10 for this motherboard, the Asus A7V. Again, I am the Video Geek, and my name is Rodney Reynolds, and this has been another video review. Please check out my website at www.thevideogeek.com. Stay tuned, and next week we will have another video review.